As you can see, I can't quite tell whether it's Christmas time or springtime, but I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to share with you one of the gifts that I bought myself for Christmas. So grab yourself a cup of tea. You'll notice actually I am drinking hot water today. I've been reading articles about health and the benefits of having a glass of cold water first thing in the morning, followed by hot water, boiled water afterwards, and at least half an hour before you eat. So I shall remember to keep myself hydrated. So Christmas candle out of the way, and whenever I see this Christmas candle, I bought this having been inspired by Diane in Denmark's video. I searched high and low for where I could find one online. This would have been way before lockdown 2020, and now you can find these everywhere where the lid of the candle has got the lid of the pot has got a holder for the candle, and then you can store your candles underneath. And I can't ever put Christmas away just yet. Now this is a bit wobbly, but it's one of the Christmas decorations that I didn't want to put away straight away. So I bought this. I think this metal stand was a gift from my husband a few Christmases ago. I absolutely love it. It's got that, Scandi vibes. And then I've taken some artificial Christmas greenery that's got a frosting on it, and all I've done is just push it in between the fronds to sort of jazz it up a little bit. Obviously, I should have bought these candles and lit them for the 4 Sundays of Advent, but I didn't. But in hindsight, I'm quite glad I chose the green ones, because when I add it on top of my hyacinth bulbs, it sort of gives that spring look. Now, these bulbs were bought as they weren't prepared for indoor flowering. I bought them as outdoor bulbs, but I stored them or put them overnight in the freezer to try and simulate the frosts of winter, and so they'd start growing. But what quite often happens when I try and do this myself, the bulbs are very stunted, and actually I don't mind them like this, because my favourite part of the bulbs is when the new life is just about to begin. So I've got that on a spode dish. It's a sort of round saucer, a large saucer with that on top, and I've got it on a hostess trolley which sits next to my patio doors with my other plants. So you can see we're definitely at that crossroads of the year when the festivities of Christmas and New Year have passed on, and spring is just around the corner. And that brings me quite nicely on to Linda Vater's latest book. Do you watch Linda Vater on YouTube? She is just absolutely inspirational. I first came across her because she did a collaboration video with a lady who lives in my hometown. A friend of mine, let's call her a friend of mine, Alexandra. Alexandra Campbell hosts the Middle-Sized blog and YouTube channel. And if you're into gardening, you really ought to subscribe to both of their channels. So I am a bit of a girl fan for Linda Vater. I particularly like the videos when she's not actually gardening. I've tried to be a gardener, but I just don't have the patience for it. Although I've taken on board loads and loads of the tips that she shares, I particularly enjoy her videos at this time of the year when she's not gardening, because she's taking you to the thrift stores in America. I should say she lives in Oklahoma City. You would think I'd know that, wouldn't you, just straight off? She lives in America, and she always gives the zone that she gardens in, which is something that's totally alien to me living in England. I don't quite understand what that means. I don't know the zone that I live in terms of the garden year and when you can expect your frosts and rainfall of that kind of thing. So I particularly love Linda. I love it when she goes to visit other people's houses. And she's got a friend called John. She's got 2 friends called John. One who lives in the same city that she does, but she's met another friend called John who lives in the New York area. And I particularly enjoyed those videos of hers because I've recently been to New York, went last autumn on our 30th wedding anniversary because we honeymooned in New York. So it's particularly nice to see a video where you feel like you know the host intimately, and then she takes you on a journey of things that are familiar to you. So I am quite a fan of Linda Vater, and the tagline to her channel is The Garden Inspired Life. So naturally, when she said that she was writing a book, I pre-ordered it. So this is her third book. The first one was The Elegance and Edible Garden. I don't have a copy of that, but I did for a Christmas present a couple of years ago. My sister bought me the linen-bound hardback book, which is the 5-Year Garden Journal. And I will say, I'm just not very committed to writing in it every day, but I will say if you ever have a 5-year diary, that the joy of the 5-year diary comes in the second year and the third year and the fourth year and the fifth year, because you sort of do thank your previous self for actually making a note of what the weather conditions were and what flowered first in your garden. So I'm trying to find a place in my kitchen, because that's how I get to my garden, through my kitchen, to keep my 5-year garden journal handy, so I don't have it somewhere else and then that becomes a chore. So I must look that out. I'm just desperate looking around. I think I've got it with my recipe books at the moment. So this is an amazing book. I think you'll get more out of this book if you follow Linda on YouTube. Let me know what you think if you decide to borrow a copy from the library or buy your own copy. And I have left her a link to this in the description underneath this video. So it's a lovely book, lovely colour. It's hardback. Look, it's got the turquoise edge into the pages. It's got a ribbon bookmark. It is glorious. But I will say, just as a modicum of, criticism, not really criticism, but I would have preferred, especially if you don't know Linda Vater, to have read about the author right at the beginning of the book. So this book, A Year of Garden-Inspired Living, it's not a book about gardening. So that's the only caveat I would say. Caveat is the word I was looking at. That if you're looking for a book that tells you how to garden, this isn't the book. Linda is all about how her garden inspires the rest of her life. And it's got these beautiful drawings in it. So it's just an absolutely gorgeous book. Now, I have actually read this. Don't pay any attention to the bookmark. I've actually read this from cover to cover. Look at that gorgeous winter sunshine coming in through my kitchen windows. So it's divided up into spring, summer, autumn, winter, but it starts at winter. So it's wintering, springing, summering, and autumning. Now, the term wintering, I'm sure that is the title of a book I read this time last year, and actually by a writer who, again, is local to me. I think this lady lives in Whitstable, which is a beautiful coastal town where it is famous for its oysters. That light is not doing me any favours. And it's all about, as Linda says here, it's all about wintering, it's all about nesting, hibernating, whispering, cocooning, flickering and hungering. And then you'll notice at the bottom of each page, there's a little coloured section. That's green there, it was yellow before, it was blue here. And if you look at the sections underneath, oh gosh, can you see that? Perhaps that is better. It says, in the home, in the garden, your signature style, celebration and in daily practice. Now, these are, if you're a Linda fan, just hearing her say your signature style just is bringing all sorts of warm and cosy feelings. So Linda went through a phase. So she's recently moved house, well, probably 2 or 3 years ago, from the fairy tale house to the cottage on the hill. So she's gone from a sort of what the Americans call a Tudor style house, I think, to a bungalow. And it's just, I've just really enjoyed watching her set up home in her new house. But she does talk about her signature style. And I must admit, when you follow somebody online, you are being influenced by them. You don't realise this at the time, but I guess you follow people that you've got feel that you've got an affinity to, and you feel like you know them. So she'll quite often say, of course, these are in my signature style colours. And then she's got lots of blue and white in her house. I think there were red accents in her previous house. Or she'll think of a colour of the year, and she might buy herself a scarf or a pair of gloves that fit in with a colour of the month, with her colour of the month. Or when she's got paper napkins, she might buy them in a certain shade to mark the changing seasons and that life goes on. And that's something, if you've been following me for a while with my flower arranging, I've talked about this sort of mindfulness thing. And I'm quite pleased that I live in a country that's got definite seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And if you're a flower arranger, you've got the extra season of Christmas as well. But it's just so nice that everything's not the same, that you wait for the snowdrops, you wait for the sweet peas, you know, the lovely hot days and the dew and the grass. It's all these little markers. And that's what I love about Linda, because I think that's what she's doing in her own home. And it certainly resonates with me. Now, I read the book in page order, but this is definitely a book that you could just pick up and look at a page. And it's just as if Linda is talking to you, and she tells these little stories, and then she sort of picks out an action point for you and suggests, well, why don't you use the story to do something special in your life? You know, just to note the fact it's a rainy day in January or a hot day in June. So I would say that if it's spring, I wouldn't necessarily just go to the spring page. I think any of the ideas that she shares could be applicable to any time of the year, but you just have to change the flowers, so to speak, to sit to that season. I do think, I am a bit of a Linda Vater fan, and I think I've heard her talk about some of these stories before when she's talking actually about her family and friends, but she does seem to have gone through and given the people fictitious names, although sometimes I think I am spotting the names of her actual family members, and I must admit I find that quite disconcerting. So I'm thinking, I'm sure that's your son you're talking about, or one of your daughter-in-laws. But this is an absolutely glorious book, and it reminded me of another book actually. And this was a book actually that a friend gave me. I was having quite a hard time last year, about this time last year actually, you know, after the excitement of Christmas and then coming into the winter months. And I actually went to the GP and I got some counselling. I got 2 kinds of counselling actually, both talking therapies, one to do with work side of issues and one with my just general issues. You know, I'm a woman of a certain age, in menopause. My daughter's, 18. She's growing up. She's going to be leaving home, and sort of things around my mum dying 3 years ago. So I am coming into 2026 in a much better place than I arrived in 2025, and part of that is down to how I've been working on myself with medical advice, but also little things that people do, little surprise things. People give you little good wishes, and I'm sure Linda's got a word for this. I can't remember what it is. It's one of those sort of glimmers, and I think that's talked about if you've got perhaps if you're or ADHD or something like that. I think that community talks about having these glimmers. I'm not entirely sure. I'm probably mixing my language and metaphors. But this book came from a surprise source. It was somebody that I had known for about 6 months. They knew I was having a hard time, and they sent this book, and it arrived to my home address. And it was just so lovely. Number one, getting a package that I wasn't expecting. I knew they were sending me a book because they'd asked for my address, but I didn't know what the book was. And it's The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. Now, Matt is a fabulous author. I have read, I wonder if it says in here what books he's written. The Midnight Library is the book that springs to mind. Here it is. The Midnight Library is a really good read. Now, Matt doesn't shy away from the fact that he has mental health issues, and including consideration of suicide attempts in his younger years. But his books are Reasons to Stay Alive, Notes on a Nervous Planet, 7 novels for adults, including The Midnight Library, How to Stop Time, and The Humans. A children's book, A Boy Called Christmas, has been made into a film starring Maggie Smith and Jim Broadbent, well-known actors. I am looking out for this film. I think it's probably been available on subscription channels that I don't subscribe to. But this is a really great book, and actually I'd marked the page with this, the flyleaf. I haven't got very far into it, but it's one of those books, again, that you don't need to read, because these are just little snippets. It's like your mum whispering little words of wisdom into your ear, or a close friend whose opinion you value. And the idea is that you could start anywhere and you just think, gosh, I'm having a bit of a day. And you might, for instance, want to be reminded of the fact that no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and it's not the same man. But there's other little, sometimes it's just a short paragraph, a quote, or sometimes it's a slightly longer story. And it says here, look, delete the italics. I am not popular enough. I am not good enough. I am not strong enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And it's just these little things like that, and ending, I am enough. And a reminder for tough times. One day this will be over and we will be grateful for life in ways we never felt possible. And I've got another friend, acquaintance, and he always says, as his mum said, tomorrow's another day, the sun will rise tomorrow. So there's always something better to look forward to. There's another reason to continue. So this is a lovely, lovely book. So I'll just perhaps land on a random page. It's winter. Oh, look, Christmas tree. So this seems very apt as I'm burning the last of my Christmas candles. Linda is American, so it always amuses me that the Americans spell colour wrong. So, of course, me being a Brit would spell it C-O-L-O-U-R. So I always like that sort of intercontinental little things that just, recognise that we're all different. So it says a typical colour palette for the holidays. Until they moved to the cottage on the hill, she, Linda, had no interest in using anything other than the most traditional of colours for Christmas. Now this is reminding me of her video. And I'm sitting in her parlour with her in front of her diamond LED lights and windows at the front of the house. So red and deep green, maybe some white or silver or gold, and plaid, of course, in the same hues. But this year, she wanted to step out of her comfort zone. The bright southern sun cascading through the diamond paned windows, I told you so, painted woodwork and walls, and the overall brightness of the spaces called for something less intense, less saturated, less heavy, more celestial than earthy. She was going to embrace the colours of a white wonderland. It actually says, embrace the colours of a winter wonderland instead of the colours of a Victorian Christmas. Sky blue, pale blue, linen blue with white, cream and pale silver. It brought to mind snow and steel blue. Steel blue, winter grey skies, again spelling grey differently than I would. The more muted, the less traditional palette would seem fresh and less tired to the past. Not that was a bad thing, it was just that she was ready for a new start, new hues and a new way of expressing herself during the holidays. A clean holiday palette, cool and ethereal, a lightness of being palette. Yes, she thought to herself, that was what it was. She wanted a lightness of being. Christmas this year, elegant, crystalline and wonderful. And the holiday shake-up, her little advice in that story, although I know she's talking, why not try using non-traditional holiday colour palettes for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, and I've not heard of this holiday before, Kwanzaa? Shake it up a bit. Can you see the spelling there? Kwanzaa. So when I finish filming this video, I will be remembering to look that up so I can learn a little bit. And that is how she goes through the page. And I say, if you are a Linda Vater fan and you follow her on YouTube, you will recognise some of these stories. But I think that's where it's more meaningful, really. You know what you're expecting because you know a little bit of Linda Vater and her life. So treat yourself. This is an absolutely glorious book. So I have left a link to it to Amazon, and I am an Amazon affiliate, so you pay the price that Amazon tells you it is, but I may get a small fee for introducing you. So yes, probably the perfect book to buy someone who enjoys, the outdoors, perhaps a woman who's a similar age to me and Linda. But it's almost a thing, what do you buy a person who's got everything? And I think this book would be such a treat, and any time of the year, because really, let me see. So let's find summertime and see if we can link it to the moment. So late summer's bounty. Usually it was far too hot to entertain outdoors in August. Well, not in England. We're probably going to be rainy, but miraculously a cool front had come through and the family came into town. Eating out in the potager would be ever so pleasant. The fragrance from all the varieties of basils, and Linda loves basil, topiary forms of basil as well. I've tried topering, it didn't work. Might put it on my list for things to do in the future. The colour from the peppers and the zinnias, I can't grow zinnias, and the sweet yellow blooms on the cherry tomatoes it's a new word as well, climbing the tutors, Tuteurs. Is those the stakes? Like if you've got a nice pot and then you've got the pyramid of sticks. Is that what a tutor is? Need to look that up in the dictionary as well. Would be the perfect late summer backdrop. It should even inspire the menu, Olive thought. Maybe bruschetta, a room temperature pesto pasta dish, and lots of shaved parmesan, of course. Bottles of Chianti for the adults and gelato for dessert for the kids. Baguettes of caprese salad, perfect seasonal deliciousness. Checked red and white linens and wax stripped wine bottle candles with a herb and zinnia. See, and this is another thing between the Americans and us, with an herb. So I would say with a herb, with a herb and zinnia centerpiece, Tuscany on the prairie, compliments of great weather and the potager's late summer bounty. And then the sort of call to action, savour the moment. Why not try entertaining around what's in bloom? Our roses at their most fragrant are the foxgloves, simply splendid, is the mock orange in full glory. So it's too cold in the winter to eat out, but you could host a little gathering in your home and perhaps bring in to set the table. I can see out on my patio table, I've got a little cuttings of holly with their red berries still. If I look to the side, I've got some amaryllis growing indoors. I've got some other spring planted bulbs. So you could bring that seasonal notion into how you entertain at home. So I would highly recommend Linda's book, as long as if you buy it, you realise it's not a book about gardening. It's definitely how Linda's garden has inspired her living. So I think I shall leave it there. My tea's gone cold. Whoops. But I'll put the kettle on again and perhaps even have a cup of proper English tea, which Linda, I think, would call hot tea. It's just tea for us. So that's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.